Our first speaker for tonight is Michelle STARR. Michelle's work extends beyond corporate strategy into civic engagement and community leadership. She serves as an elected councilwoman in Woodlawn, Ohio. She has been featured on TEDx stages discussing how managing bias and restoring energy through empathy can transform organizational dynamics. Her book, Be Brown Brave, Guide to Supporting Women of All Color in the Workplace, helps senior leaders identify and overcome unconscious barriers, strengthen collaboration, and build high-performing teams with equity at the core. Her commitment to equitable opportunity aligns with EmpowerU's mission to build confident decision makers and leaders who improve the quality of life, and she is honored to bring her insights to your community. You can read Michelle's full bio on our website. So please welcome Michelle STARR.
Thank you, Betty. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am Michelle STARR, CEO of Be Brown Brave, where I advocate for women in the workplace. I also am a councilwoman in my municipality, as well as an advisor for the county. Yet I'm only here today as a concerned citizen. Thank you for attending to hear my spiel on how to understand and act on your bills. So for years, we have trusted that if you work hard and pay your bills, you'll have access to the basic necessities in life, like gas and electricity. Trust me, I value Duke Energy because when we have a power outage, they are on it. Yet the reality is state utility regulators are supposed to oversee energy companies and ensure fair pricing. But today, many families are still struggling under unexplained fees. And those families are what I'm calling the low energy users, such as renters in small spaces, single parents in apartments, and elderly who are not that active. They are subsidizing the energy of subsidizing the cost of high energy users, such as those in large spaces and larger homes. I imagine a system where energy bills reflect our actual usage, not hidden fees, where we pay for what we use, not be penalized for trying to save. As of now, low energy users are paying for high energy users, and they're experiencing unequal billing as well as some smart meter penalties. So here are some issues that we have discovered. Today, we have with us a local tech expert, Mr. Vince Wellage, who will engage during the Q&A portion if needed, has studied over 800 monthly billing statements from the years 2018 up to 2025 that covered 25 zip codes across our Southwest Ohio area. His data has shown that 60% of our bills come from fees, not the actual energy that we use. And his data shows people who use as little as 750 kilowatt hours on a 12-month average are paying nearly the same or more as those who are using 1,250 kilowatt hours or more. And his data shows that if you choose to opt out of using the smart meter device that's attached to our homes, you'll be penalized with double jeopardy, meaning you'll pay a $100 upfront fee to have it removed and a $30 recurring monthly fee that's attached inside of our delivery riders. Duke Energy's billing model isn't just unfair, it's driving people deeper into hardship. Recently, because I posted on social media to come and listen to my energy presentation, a young woman brought her bill, and we discovered that she was paying twice the amount of a rate for electricity with her alternate energy supplier than she could have been paying with Duke. She was paying 16 cents per kilowatt hour at the time when Duke was offering only 8 cents. Let's say she was using 750 kilowatt hours on a monthly average. That would equate to $120 per month that she was paying, whereas she could have been paying an extra or paying Duke's rate, and that would have equated to $60 extra on her bill. So that difference of $60 was being paid for the whole year of 2024. And sadly, she didn't know that she had been switched from Duke to an alternate energy supplier. Another young woman in her 80s was billed $800 to $900 monthly. To me and to many, it should have raised a red flag to Duke on so many levels. One, her age. Elderly people don't consume that amount of energy for $800 to $900 a month bill. Two, the fact that she lived alone. Living in a house by yourself, whether you're young or old, you would not equate to $800 to $900. And the fact that she wasn't in a protected energy category for a discount, like a low income category. Sadly, she was paying this for many years, since 2009. Fortunately, I contacted Duke, a couple of reps, who engaged with her, and her bill went down to $300 a month. So let's say this past January 2025, minimum wage was raised to $10.70. For an employee working 40 hours a week, that would equate to about $1,700 a month. $1,700 on minimum wage would have, let's say a one-bedroom apartment would run around $1,200. And that would leave you with $500 remaining to cover taxes, transportation back and forth to work, food, care for your kids. And it's not much left remaining for utilities, especially if you're being overcharged. So my concern is why the disparity between low energy users, such as those in small apartments, renting small spaces, and elderly, are getting charged the same or more fees as high energy users. Those are in larger spaces and larger homes. This chart shows the bills of 10 different people, 10 different consumers. And if you look at the yellow highlighted section, that of those 10, a few of them were grouped together who used less than 750 in the first highlighted yellow column. They were using less than 750 kilowatt hours on a monthly average. And the group that's highlighted in pink, they were using more, in the first pink column, they were using more than 1,250 kilowatt hours. And we're calling the yellow highlighted group the low energy group, and the group in pink, the high energy group. If you look at the highlighted yellow and go all the way to the third highlighted, the last column that's highlighted, it's called the usage total. That's the range of bill or charges that were billed to those low energy people. And it ranged from around $81 to up to around $104. That's what they were charged for, which is okay. And then look at the second highlighted column. That's the taxes and the fees that were charged by them. And they range from as low as $100 all the way up to like $104. Those taxes and fees were almost as equal to or more than their bill. And then let's go down to the high energy group. The high energy group, if you go to the last pink column, it shows that they were using they were charged a range from around $173 up to $400 plus dollars, which is okay because they use higher amounts of energy, so they should be charged more than low energy. But more important, look at the second highlighted column in pink, where their taxes and fees range from 101 up to 102 and then 104. Those taxes and fees are the same or equal than the low energy use, the same or less sometimes than the low energy users in yellow. And to us, that's just not fair. It's not fair. So this slide is, I call it a receipt because it's kind of like going to the store, buying milk and bread for $10. And then when you get to your car, you see that you've been billed and you paid $20. It will cause you some concern to have you go back into the store, talk with the manager, and say, I've been overcharged. That's what this slide is, a receipt to show Duke's manager that they are overcharging. So you're wondering, where are these bills coming from? Your bills are made up of the cost of the actual energy that you use and the cost of consumer fees. These consumer fees are a combination of fixed fees, delivery riders, and smart meter opt-out fees. The fixed fees are distribution charges that cover poles, wires, substations, transformers, and some bill processing. Those are fixed. The delivery riders are hidden costs. That's not typically on your bill. They cover tariffs, taxes, storm outages, and uncollectibles. Your opt-out smart meter, those fees come from when you choose to use the smart meter that's on your the side of your house, or you choose not to use it. And that's where if you choose not to use it, you'll get charged upfront fee and a recurring fee. I want to dive into the demand that's needed for living in a house versus an apartment. A house would require more power, meaning more poles, bigger transformers, thicker gauge wires, and more dedicated service lines, resulting in more manpower to maintenance that equipment. Whereas an apartment typically uses less power because it's located in a multi-unit building. It shares power infrastructure, and they use the same one utility pole. And they use lower, smaller gauge wire to route the power, which results in needing less manpower to maintenance. So why are these apartment and small space users paying equal or more when they need less? A 500 square foot home in an apartment does not drive the system demand the same as a 5,000 square foot house. For some more evidence, WCPO News did a story on Duke Energy's billing software that they installed back in 2022, where they found a year later in 2023 some billing errors. They found over 100,000 billing errors. And of those, 39,000 charges were wrong. And over 5,000 customers' information got lost. And over 3,000 customers went unbilled for several months at a time, all resulting in Duke experiencing over a $1 million fine. It's very important to understand how this can truly hurt consumers living in poor neighborhoods and hardship households. So people, correction. Correction helps today, but prevention protects tomorrow. As a corporate professional with quality experience, I've been trained to resolve issues by addressing the root cause, finding out the why by looking at several iterations of what caused the issue, the overcharges, the oversight. So to resolve issues, you correct them by immediately putting fixes in place. Then you prevent them by revising your policies and procedures to prevent them from reoccurring. I repeat, to resolve issues, you correct them by immediately putting fixes in place. And then you prevent them by revising your policies and procedures to prevent them from reoccurring. To resolve issues of people being or struggling with their energy bills and due to high rates and inaccurate billings and lack of knowledge for what to look for, they have been instructed by their alternate energy provider to immediately fix it by suggesting payment plans. And I know you guys have heard many payment plans that they offer, or joining aggregation programs, and or buying energy efficient appliances. But for prevention, there has not been any solutions provided. Prevention to first to stop those charges from ever even getting onto your bill. So for us to prevent those charges from ever getting onto your bill, we're asking Duke and PUCO to consider conditional billing. Yes, conditional billing. Conditional billing will provide a balanced approach by introducing a tiered rate structure that adjusts charges based on energy use. And Duke currently right now uses a one-size-fits-all approach that doesn't address the different energy needs. So we're suggesting to add a new tier rate structure that will address low, moderate, and high energy users. And we're suggesting to remove or reduce smart meter opt-out fees for those low energy users. And to implement quarterly billing audits. As of now, I couldn't get confirmation that Duke was even doing a once-a-year audit. Audits would help immediately find and fix or find and suggest corrections for fixes. And we're also suggesting that PUCO assess Duke based on a performance-based revenue model. As of now, Duke has to generally ask PUCO for approving their rate increase for consumers, and PUCO approves. Where if you and I ask our employer for, if you can hold your questions to the end, that would be great.
What's PUCO?
PUCO, Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. Thank you. Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. If you and I ask our employer for an increase in pay, we will be assessed on our performance or whether we met or exceeded expectations. We're just saying Duke should be assessed with that same criteria. How well did they meet consumers or customers' expectations with the minimizing the billing errors or removing any mistakes? So as of now, I know Duke is a business and they must generate income. Yet, I think they need to be fair because right now it just seems unfair. Why that's, there was one back. Go back. So the last one was to add a more user-friendly consumer education and real-time usage option. Right now, if you go onto Duke's their website, there's a software called How to Read Your Bill. And that software, it helps you read your bill if you put in your address and your information. But to me, consider myself a little tech savvy. It was challenging for me to use. So just think if there were elderly people or people who were living in a community that had challenges with computer skill sets. So we're just asking Duke to be have more user-friendly tools. So why this works for both sides? By creating a new tier rate category plus revising some distribution and delivery costs, Duke can increase trust with the public and their consumers. And they can reduce disputes, which will help them mitigate risk for litigation, resulting in them saving millions. And it'll help them recover costs from the charges they need for their infrastructure when improving the grid, which will ensure a long-term stability. I've asked Duke's president, Miss Amy Spiller, and her team to engage in discussions with us, the communities and advocates, with this transition plan, and to pilot a tiered billing system and select zip codes like a marginalized community. And I've requested that they review the program for the customer's impact. And if it's not working, then adjust it fairly as needed. I applaud her efforts leading a team as a woman because it has challenges. Yet her team will see that she can lead the business with empathy and still grow the business to generate revenue. I've contacted our legislators, and I've contacted PUCO, the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. This conditional billing model allows Duke Energy to remain profitable and ensure fairness, transparency, and more consumer-friendly practices, resulting in a win-win. I see a future where no parent has to worry about choosing between paying the rent or keeping the lights on for their children. And more families understand what they're being charged for. And trust is restored. This really isn't just about energy bills. It's about justice, accountability, and the wellness of our communities. So, people, change is possible, but it starts with us. Every person in this room can make a difference. You can call Duke and simply ask, am I being overcharged? They're not allowed to speak ill against alternate energy suppliers, but they will tell you, looks like your account, you're being charged this amount of rate where we might offer this amount. If they're equal, fine, you're good. If they're significantly different, you tell Duke, no, I want to be charged the less. Then contact Duke's managers. Ohio State Senator Shane Wilkin. Call him, email him, use your own words, but make sure you communicate to him to please provide PUCO oversight for overcharges. Contact Duke's manager, PUCO. Go online to their website, find where you file a comment, and in your own words, mention how you would like for them to support conditional billing. There's a QR code there that it's on your paper. You can scan that later to take you right to the site where you'll input general information and you can file that comment. If you're uncomfortable calling and emailing, get with a local group. There's one around called Communities United for Action. They have a website that is www.cufacincy.org. So people, What you have in your hand is a copy of the receipt, along with some wallet work, not homework, but wallet work. And you have this 3-part detail. This 3-part detail is a template that energy companies use to bill their customers. Each column, there's 3 columns. The first column, detail 1, is about supply charge methods. The second column is about distribution costs. And the third column, delivery riders. At the bottom of each of those columns is a subsection that's bold with the letters RSLEM. And that RSLEM is at the bottom of each column. That's the section of information that we're suggesting Duke to consider changing for that template when billing low energy. It stands for Residential Service Low Energy Monthly. And that's the information we're asking Duke to consider for billing low energy users. And then in your hand, you have a sheet called the Tariff Sheet 85 that lists some of those hidden charges that I was speaking about. This is just a few of the codes that you're billed, but they're not on your that you're charged, but they're not on your bill. But there's a host of other codes that are not listed up here. These are just the more active ones. So until then, people, let's stand together, advocate for fairness, and make sure that energy companies serve us, not the other way around. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions? Kidding.
Thank you for the very nice presentation. And I think the whole thing is educating the public. But like I was talking earlier, they charge $43 for just your gas hookup. And for low income people, I know some neighbors do it, but during the summer months, they have their gas shut off. So they don't pay that $43 for those months, the summer months. And they charge, I think, $15 to hook it back up, to turn it back on or whatever they do. But, and then also the Public Utilities Commission, it seems like every time Duke comes to them with an increase, they vote for it anyway. It doesn't seem like they turn anything down.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we're saying Duke needs to be held with a higher set of criteria.
But they usually do on the rate increases with PUCO. What they're actually submitting for increase is actually on the distribution charges and the riders. The supply rate is all determined by the auction rate. It's separate process. Anyway, what usually happens is Duke will ask for $50 million, and then PUCO will give them $22 million. I've seen it in the documentation, and I've followed the hearings, and PUCO just gives them half of what they want. There's no consideration of the issues that Michelle's talking about. And the chart she showed were the 3 columns. You only have control over the first column. Yeah. You can control that by your supplier. You can pick Duke or you can pick an alternate supplier. Column 2 and 3, you don't have any control over. And 2 and 3 are added together every month. That's your customer fees. And like she was talking about, the fees have been allowed in column 2 and 3 to just continue to go up the last 4 or 5 years. So every time when they say there's a rate increase, they're talking about the distribution and the riders, not about the supply. And that's probably on purpose. They keep you masked.
This is why it's easy. People, it's just a phone call. It's just an email. You can make the difference. Call Shane Wilkin. Call PUCO. Yes.
It says you mentioned Shane Wilkin. Now I'm in Mason, Ohio. Do I have a different person in
No, he's
Ohio Senate?
he's the Ohio senator that I've been aware
PUCO
for the whole state of Ohio.
or PUCO?
Yeah, for energy commission. Yes,
All right.
yes, yes. There's another question.
Just what is PUCO's responsibilities and authorities? I mean, can they impose audits, et cetera?
Good question, and I'm thinking yes. We can ask PUCO for better oversight, which means having energy companies prove that they're doing what they say they're doing. So yes, PUCO has that authority, and they have that responsibility to take care of the general public when it comes to energy companies.
But also the legislature has oversight over PUCO.
Yes.
They can make PUCO, if they don't follow what Michelle's talking about, they have oversight. So it doesn't end with PUCO, and it's badly needed. I'm telling you right now.
Yes. So that's why if you contact your legislator, in addition to contacting PUCO, in addition to contacting Duke, you will make a big difference. And it's something you can do in a matter of minutes. Minutes that can save you money, your loved ones money, your neighbor money, and that will have it will have a trickle effect to help your community and then the state. And it's a win-win. Yeah.
Question online here. Someone asked, how can I avoid being switched from Duke to other providers? I believe the lockout on my account to keep this from happening is no longer available.
So inside of your bill, Duke usually include a leaflet that will tell you to contact them by a certain date in the year. They have 4 dates in the 4 times in a year where you can call to opt out your name from that alternate supplier list. And you only need to call once for them to completely remove your name. So my suggestion is the next date is April 16th of this year. Call Duke before April 16th and have them remove your name, opt out of that list.
We're out of time for questions. I think you're going to hang around, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, she'll be here at the end of the session at 8:30.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Michelle. That was great. That was very interesting. Thank you for being here. And her handouts, Michelle's handouts, will be posted online on our website. So if you're not here and you're online and you're wondering what those handouts are, they are posted on the website. So we also have tonight Dustin Goldie, who is local, actually lives in Sharonville. He will be talking to us tonight about beef prices and what is going on with the beef prices. And Dustin is the owner of Goldie Beef Farms, which is located in Clarksville, Ohio, which is Warren County. His farm is known as Goldie Beef North. He runs the farm alongside his father, Rick. His brother operates Goldie Beef South in Stanford, Kentucky, along with his uncle Jeff, operating Goldie Beef East in Wilmington, Ohio. Goldie Beef focuses primarily on delivering custom processed farm-raised beef and hay production. Holding a master's degree and principal's license, Dusty also teaches in the Little Miami School District, so he's the perfect person to be here at EmpowerU educating. He's been in education and an administrator for over 23 years. He currently works with at-risk students overseeing the Panther Success Academy. The program gives students an alternative pathway to graduation and helps with job placement for students. So Dustin would like to welcome any questions ongoing as his as he speaks with us tonight. So feel free to raise your hand whenever you want. I'll have the microphone, and I'm sure Bill will as well. Thank you.
How's everybody doing? Good. All right. I want to thank everybody for having me here tonight and talking about probably something that makes everybody as equally as angry, along with raising and rising utility bills, our beef prices. Holy moly, have our beef prices skyrocketed really since about 2020. Again, Dustin Goldie, I've been in farming my entire life. My father, my great grandfather, my grandpa, you'll see some pictures here. We've been in it. They pretty much did it for just our family. And then I told them around 2010, I said, Dad, this beef is so good. We have got to try to sell this to customers. And 2020 hit with COVID, and that's when Goldie beef really exploded, because what happened is, if you remember, the shelves went bare with meat. The big meat packing plants shut down. And all of a sudden, along with everybody worrying about toilet paper, they also were worried about, where's the beef? So they started to do research, and folks began to realize you could buy beef directly from a farmer. And a little bit of a plug that I want to have here today is that I encourage you all, you don't have to buy from Goldie Beef, but I encourage you all to look into the local farmers and ranchers. We are there, and we will sell to you directly. And I'm going to give you a little reason why you should probably buy from local farmers. Okay, now I'm going to pick on somebody here. Someone raise your hand and tell me if you buy your beef currently, it's okay, at Meijer, Kroger, somewhere around here. Who buys their beef at Kroger? Okay. Who would like would you like to volunteer? I promise you I won't pick on you too bad. There's a prize at the end. Okay? I promise. I wish. But you're getting there a little bit. Let me ask you, sir, when you buy your beef at Kroger, do you know how old it is? No. Okay. Beef in grocery stores can be anywhere from 18 months old, all right, to 20 years old. Okay. Let me ask you, sir, when you eat that beef from the store, do you know what's been put in it in regards to medications or growth hormone? Okay. So you're eating that beef and you're not sure how many antibiotics have been shot into that. You don't know what kind of chemicals have been shot in that. You don't know how much extra water has been shot in that, nor do you know if there's growth hormone in there. Okay. Color looks good, doesn't it? Yeah, that pink slime, that pink slime keeps it looking real pretty for a long time. You're smart. You got that. Let me ask you, do you know where your beef is from? Do you know where it was raised? Well, something that I want to educate you on is it may say produced or packaged in the United States, but that doesn't mean it was born and raised in the United States. It could have been born and raised in multiple areas, which those farmers don't have the stringent regiments that we have with our government and how we're supposed to properly raise animals. So you do all that, you buy your stuff at Kroger, and you really don't have a clue what's in it. I'll give you an example. When you buy your big hamburger roll, the 80-20 at a local big place like Kroger or whatever, do you know how many cows are actually in that package of meat? You would think one, right? No. Up to hundreds of cattle are in that. If we were to take DNA strands from that package of hamburger, there is upwards to 100 cows that you could potentially be eating in there. We don't know how old they were. We don't know how sick they were. We don't know what's been put in them. Okay? So it's just something to think about. The University of Nebraska Agricultural Department did a study, and they dissected a McDonald's quarter pounder, and they wanted to see how many DNA strands were in that one single quarter pounder from McDonald's. Does anyone want to take a guess how many cows were a part of that? 1,000 and 1/4 pounder. You have these big meat packing plants. There's 4 of them. All right. They're known as the Big Four. Now, I'm a social studies guy, taught it for years. And when you have a business association that loosely together, there's only about 4 of them. We call that a cartel. Okay. A beef cartel. That's right. And then beef cartels, buddy, they're chummy with each other. And they work closely, just like the old gasoline stations do. Okay. And those 4 companies, they have these massive mixers where they're just dumping the beef in from thousands of different cows, and it just turns and it turns and it chimes out all of this beef. But again, you don't know how old it is. You don't know where it's from. You don't know what's been put in it. All right. You don't know if it's been sick. You don't know any of that. Now, at Goldie Beef, the one thing, let me get my thing. Now, sir, because you participated, I'm going to give you 4 Goldie burgers. They're 1/4 pounders. They came from 1 cow. They've never been shot up with antibiotics or growth hormone. And our range of beef is 18 to 20 months old. It's like veal. So there you have it. That's the difference. And you know what you're eating now. Okay? You're welcome. You're welcome. So thanks for participating. So this is our website, eatgoldiebeef.com. Thank my wife for creating that. She's excellent with it. I have no idea how to work it, but she's really good with technology. So I appreciate that. And I thank her. Live here in Sharonville with her. We have 5 kids, ages from 17 to 28. The cows did not give me white hair. The children did. So, but they've helped out on the farm. My son Gunnar helps out quite a bit. And you just learn so many life lessons on the farm. So we're blessed to have that. See if I figure out how to work this now. So we're going to talk about why are beef prices high today. All right, just some more pictures. As you can see, our beef, if you were to match it with the store beef, it's a different color. It's a different taste. It is something that we're very proud of. Our product is also prime, where when you're buying it in the store, you're buying a choice product, which is the second level tier. Ours is prime, which is the top. Our pricing is below choice versus what you're buying in the store. So we're very proud of that as well. I love hanging out with my cows. In fact, I like hanging out with my cows sometimes more than I do people. All right, this world's pretty crazy right now. So I love hanging out with my cows. I do silly videos, promote the product. The one thing I believe when you own a business, you need to market yourself. You got to be a little different. Farmers traditionally are very conservative in the sense they don't like the outside world knowing what they do. Not me. I invite you into the farm. I give you the adventures of Goldie every day out there with pictures and videos and things that we do. But hey, that's my herd of cattle just hanging out there with them. There's some pictures of, we like our bib overalls, as you can see. That's my great-grandfather, Cecil Kofer, from down in Maysville, Kentucky. Had a huge dairy farm and then eventually got into Hereford cattle, which are your red and white ones, before he passed away. That's my father there. Top right, Rick Goldie, obviously me, and then there's my son Gunnar with his. So it's been kind of like a family business throughout the years on our logo. So let's kind of get to why beef prices are so high. You really just gotta go put yourself back in your economics class, your senior year in high school. Tight supply, huge demand equals high prices. Okay? There is really no conspiracy theory. There's no, I explain it that simple because that's really what we're dealing with right now. There's more causes into why the beef herd is down and things like that. And we'll get into that. But basically, it's panic time. It's panic. I'm screaming from a mountaintop that our beef herd is at the lowest level it's been in 75 years. It's at 86 million right now. And oh yeah, everyone ask questions. I'm a teacher. I engage. I want you guys to ask questions. So go ahead.
I'm into the conspiracy theory, and I believe it, that Bill Gates bought up all that cattle raising land out west. He's the biggest cattle land owner in, I don't know what states, North Dakota, whatever. And I believe now he's not anti-beef now that he's cornered the market.
Well, I'm going to debunk that just a little. The Mormons are actually the largest landowning entity in the United States. But they raise the cattle. You're right. So in regards to Bill Gates, I don't know what he's trying to do. I mean, but that's a good point. But I do know that the Mormons are one of the largest producers of beef and in land. I've heard that debate before on who's got more. From what I understand, it's the Mormons. Go ahead.
But Bill Gates actively was buying the land and then not using it for beef anymore. So he's buying up all the land that the beef were growing on. Then he wasn't growing it. Then he was down. He's saying, oh, beef is terrible. And then he made the fake beef.
Yeah.
And now that he's done buying up all the land he wants, he's all of a sudden making the change of heart. But the Mormons did not buy up land and not use it for beef.
You are correct. Now, the fake meat, I don't think that's going over real well right now. The stock prices and some of that have dropped down to, I think, below $1. So I think if he has changed his mind, it's probably for a good reason, because the American public loves their beef and they rejected the fake meat stuff. One of the things that happened out west is that we are experiencing a 25 year drought out west. A lot of people don't know that. And the fields where free grass is at for our cattle farmers dried up. Now, when we experience drought, farmers have to import food for their cows. That's not easy, folks. You ever seen the big round bales of hay? You just can't transport a bunch of those across country and have enough to feed some of these large ranches. And if you do, the input cost in that is tremendous. Now remember, there's very little margin for the cattle rancher to begin with. And if all your grass is gone and all your input costs are going up with feed that you're buying and corn and soybeans and all the mixtures that you feed them, what happens is you got a business. You sell. So the drought forced so many of our independent ranchers out. Now, the other thing that's happening, and I put it in red because it's kind of a sneaky one, is that our ranchers are aging. They're in their mid-60s right now on average. And guess what? Their children don't want any part of it. It's too hard. Or they got other interests, whatever it may be. So the younger generation is saying, hey, see all that land and all these cows? Let's sell them out. Let's get rid of it. Let's not get into it. So an aging population with their children not wanting to get into it, they're selling out as well. And we're losing so many of these farms, so many of these independent ranchers that are, like, again, our herd now is down to 86 million. All right. In comparison, in 1950, we had 90 million head of cattle. And we're at it. Now, I'm going to show you a stat here in a minute. And it's a little misleading because in 1950, our cattle were predominantly grass-fed. Today, they're grain-fed. And by us grain feeding them, they're much larger. So you have heavier carcasses, almost double the size of what they were in 1950. So we have less farmers feeding more people because of that. The demand for beef has baffled economists because, normally the cure for high prices is high prices. Well, beef just continues to go up. Since COVID, ground beef has gone up in some places 60%. What used to be something you grabbed as you went by, you didn't look at the price. Now everybody's looking at it weekly to see what it's at. And there are some projections that ground beef at the store could approach $10 a pound in the near future. I think it's right around $7 right now. Maybe obviously you can catch it on sale and things like that occasionally. But it just keeps going up and up and up. So strong demand. The thing is, Americans love beef. And my question to you is, obviously it's not fake beef. We know that, right? What's the alternative to beef? Pork, chicken, but I'm here to tell you, veggie burgers, there's some of those are good though. I eat them every once in a while. But the thing is, pork has become a very dry product. Now, a lot of folks don't know this, but in the 1980s and 90s, all right, the old American fat hog began to die out on the farms. We started to change their genetics. Do you guys remember the ads in the 80s? The other white pork, the other white meat. All right. They wanted it to compete with chicken. We got to get rid of the fat. We got to get rid of the marbling. And what's happened is we've produced a very, very dry pork product. And Americans are like, I'm going to keep eating my beef because trying to buy a pork tenderloin here that's going to dry out on me overnight, I'm just not doing it. And chicken, in some cases, people aren't turning it to it because it's become very rubbery. Okay? Very rubbery. Now, what's happened with chicken and pork, and the one thing that's different with beef, is chicken and pork, they've been kind of overtaken by corporate. There are very few independent, if any, pork and chicken producers. Okay? Where in the United States, we still have about 15% of the market with independent beef farmers. Now, let me repeat that, about 15%. It's not very many. All right. The other 85%, does anybody want to take a guess who controls the market? The big four: Tyson, Cargill, JBS, and I think it's National Meat. Those big four control all the 85% of it. And guess what? They'd love to see the rest of the 15% go to the wayside so they can control everything. So labor and processing, again, we all know right now, some of these processing plants can't find workers. And when you slow production, guess what happens to the price of the product? It goes up. Supply chain and transportation, again, the cost of fuel, everything has caused all businesses to raise their prices. I'm not going to go into that too much because we all know since COVID, everything has gone up. Everything. So, thing here. Any questions so far? So yeah, go ahead. Love it. Please ask away.
What's the difference, quality wise and nutrition wise, between a grass fed beef 100% and the grain fed?
Well, if you look into the nutrition aspects of it, there's not a whole lot of difference. The big thing is the marbling of the beef and the color of the beef. An entire grass-fed beef will be darker in color. It will have less fat and has a little bit more of a gamey taste. Some people love that. Okay, where a grain-fed beef is going to have the more marbling of the fat within it, the more of the prime rating. The color is going to be different. There's more fat in the grain-fed beef, less fat in the grass-fed beef. But you start going and looking into like the vitamins and things within both, and they're both very, very nutritious. The one thing that we're very careful about is getting into like a grass-fed beef versus grain-fed beef war, because we're already under attack in regards to survival. So whenever people ask me what's better, grain-fed or grass-fed, I don't really put down or promote one of the. Obviously, I'm grain-fed. I love it, but I don't ever really say that our product's better than the grain-fed, because we got to stick together in order to survive as independent farmers. But they both have qualities. They both, I guess, if you wanted to look at the negative, but you talk about fat, but we just changed the new nutrition code, and meat's at the very top, and fats are good. So, I mean, it's always changing. But that's a great question, and it really is just in the eye of the beholder and what you prefer as a family. That's what I always tell people. You're welcome. That's a great question. Go ahead.
Can you speak to organic and free range?
Yes. So organic and free range, interesting enough, the definition of it is, I'm trying to explain it the best I can to be politically correct. You can say you have a free range chicken, but a free range chicken really only needs to be able to move in a square space for just a little bit. So be careful when you hear people going, we've got free range this or free range that. Well, look at the definition of what free range means. And you got to make sure that all of us would love to see the cows running around freely and the chickens running around in neighborhoods and everybody's happy. And man, look at that. But not everybody does that. They'll advertise as free range and really they're pinned up still. So, the organic piece of it, you can become organic certified if you want to. The reason I don't is because I feel like we're about 99% organic, but there's a trace element here or there possibly in something that I don't know about, so I don't get organic certified. Does that answer your question?
Same thing.
So she's asking, is free range and pasture fed the same thing? I would say so. Yeah. Yeah. Most of the time that's what they're looking for, grass fed only. So you have grass fed, pasture fed. Yes. And yeah, that's exactly right. Yep.
Okay. Question?
Yeah.
Do you raise only Angus or Hereford Angus mix? Or
I do Angus. I do Hereford. Now, my father, growing up on a dairy farm, he is adamant that I have to raise him a Holstein every year, which is a dairy product. But growing up poor, dairy farmers, a lot of times, that's all they ate was the dairy cattle. So, and that yellow fat, my dad's hooked to it. So we mainly raise Angus. We have white-faced Baldies, which is a Hereford and an Angus mixed. And we've had occasionally, different types of cattle. But for the most part, it's Angus, Hereford, and white-faced Baldies.
you can get a lot of Hereford Angus mix from the dairies.
I buy all my cattle from a gentleman that is a good friend of mine and a business partner, Guthrie Farms out of Columbus, Ohio. And he's predominantly Angus, Simmental, and white-faced Baldy.
Do you buy the calves from the dairy and then milk feed them for a little bit until you get them?
No, we buy our calves predominantly. We have our calves on our farms that we use. And then when we also we do about 100 head a year. So we have to buy calves from other farmers, predominantly Mr. Guthrie in Columbus. And we buy them in the 600 to 700 pound range. And then we feed them out.
Already well beyond.
Oh yeah, they're well beyond. Yeah. Have I ever gotten a bottle fed baby? Yes, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be out there feeding it about 3 or 4 times a day. A lot of times it's someone that's had one, they can't take care of it. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And when my kids were little, it was great, but I'm getting too old for that now.
What do you do? What happens to the milk cows when they're out of milking?
Great question. So milk cattle, the dairy farmers for years, and I'm going to say this as politically correct as I can, if they had bulls, a lot of times they just got in the way, they got rid of them. Okay. They were just exterminated. Today, we have such a shortage of cattle. Dairy farmers could easily do away with producing milk and sell their calves. And
they do that, right?
They are right now, and they're making the most money they've ever made.
Yeah, I know. Calves used to, when I was on the farm, used to sell for $40, $50. Now it's $400 for a calf.
In fact, I'm glad you brought that up. A dairy cow stole at the stockyards it was 3 days old for over $850 the other day.
What I heard was $400 or $500.
Well, it varies from stockyard to stockyard, but you can pretty much a 1 day old Angus cow, $1,500. So I used to buy my cattle at 600 pounds, guys, for $600-700 a piece. Now it's $2,500 a piece. That's how much input costs have gone up. And again, why am I paying that? It's because our herd is so small. It's shrunk so much. It's simple supply and demand. Go ahead. I love this, by the way. Keep it up.
Do I understand that you said you grain feed your, okay. How do you know that, if the grain feed is GMO or it has pesticides and other
I buy
with it?
questions. How do I know if it's GMO, non-GMO corn? Okay. I buy from local farmers. So when I buy my corn, I buy from a local farmer who has non-GMO corn. So I make sure that it hasn't been sprayed by insecticides and things like that. No, exactly. Right. We try to do as pure and as organic as we can. I pay a little bit more for it, but it's worth it for my customers.
We have I have a question, and then we have like a few online.
Sure.
questions. You had mentioned at the beginning, the factor of how long ago the beef was killed. Didn't you say that?
Say that again.
Didn't you mention in the beginning that a factor was how long ago the beef was killed? The cattle was killed.
Oh, how old? Yeah. So we try to harvest ours between 18 to 22 months.
Oh, you mean the age? So the age of the cow.
Age is 8. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about this because I go to Findlay Market every week.
Yep.
And I've had both. I've raved to the guy I used to buy chicken from. He retired a year ago, but and then the guy I buy beef from, who's still there. The chicken guy said, this is unbelievable, and he said, well, my chicken's usually killed the morning before. So he's like, it's only been dead for a day.
Yeah.
The beef guy said this. He said the reason I think my beef is so good is because it's been killed within a week.
So when you buy a beef from us, we use a processor called Newtown Butcher in Xenia, Ohio. We take all of our stuff. That's where it goes. And he does all of our processing for us. And we normally let our beef hang for 10 to 12 days after it's been processed. It hangs there after the skin's been cut off and all that stuff. I don't want to go into much of the gory details, but it hangs for 10 to 12, sometimes 14 days. And what that does is it allows like the oxidization process to occur, and it makes the meat very, very tender. There are an Oklahoma study lets it age for 36 days. A little long for me, but in fact, some of my older beef friends say the greener the meat, the tender and tastier it is. I don't know about that. I've had guys say, yeah, I'll take it, put it out there on the picnic table and let it turn green, and that's when it's ready to go. Yeah, okay. Woo!
And then we got 3. Can I give you 3?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So someone asks, is it true that nearly all commercial pork now is GMO?
I don't have an answer to that.
Okay.
I don't have an answer to that because I'm not in the pork business exclusively. Sorry.
Okay. I think you answered this, but someone asked, what do you feed your cows?
We feed. So I met with a nutritionist because obviously I want to make sure that I'm getting the best bang for my buck for my customers, but also bottom line. And we feed whole kernel corn, and we use a protein, a 99% soybean based protein pellet that we mix in for our grain feed. Now we also have unlimited hay, free choice hay, and then pasture fields for the cows to go out and eat grass as well. So we're grass fed and grain fed operation.
Okay. One more question. Someone asks, does Big Beef ever work deals with small ranchers, or does Big Beef raise its own supply year round?
Both. So Big Beef controls the feedlots also. I mean, they've got a monopoly in all of it. So they raise their own cattle, but a lot of these big ranchers out west that like the John Duttons of the world from Yellowstone. Okay. You guys know him. When you have huge herds, you don't have the luxury just to pick those up and move them east or go thousands of miles. There's a lot of rules and regulations against that. So the big rancher that's independent out west, they have to go into these contracts with these big 4 meat packers, and they don't have any room to negotiate. And it's the same thing with our grocery stores. When you're Kroger, guess where you have to get your beef from? The big 4 meat packers. So there's not a whole lot of maneuvering even for our big grocery stores. And if the meat packer raises the price, guess what Kroger does? They raise the price because they want to cover the cost. So great questions.
One more popped up.
Yeah.
Someone asks, is the decline of U.S. ranching cultural, economic, or due to regulatory issues?
Well, that's a good question. Obviously, regulatory issues cost us money all the time. Here in Ohio, we're very blessed where we don't have a lot of regulatory issues. You get out into California and places like that. Holy, I don't know how you could be a cattle farmer out there. I think it's a economic issue simply because it's supply and demand, and our population is changing. You know, when you have the ranchers at 60 years of age retiring and getting out of the business, younger generation doesn't want to get into it. That's just kind of I guess a cultural thing too. We change as we get, each generation changes, just the way it is. That's a great question. That would have been a great essay to question in a history class for me to give to my students. So whoever did that was great.
You were talking about buying local, and do you sell to like restaurants like the Spillway Lodge?
I do not. Now talk about regulatory. The one thing that Ohio does, you guys know Thomas Massey down in Kentucky. He's a cattle farmer, and he's really big on trying to get a law passed at the federal level where I can sell beef directly to any store that I want to. The problem is, in order for me to sell to places like that, I have to go to a special processor. There's not very many of them, and there's a waiting list a mile long up in Columbus. So what I do is I use a custom processor out of Xenia, and I'm only allowed to sell, again, regulations, I'm only allowed to sell in bulk, quarters, halves, and wholes because of that. Yeah.
Dustin,
Yeah.
I can't afford to buy beef in bulk. So I go to Whole Food and I get their ground beef and their chicken, and the packaging is from a farm in Indiana.
Okay.
What I don't know, I mean, I'm assuming that's okay, but what I don't know is if I buy something from the counter, do you know where that meat comes from?
I don't. The one thing I can tell you is there are local farmers around our area that do sell piece meat, and they don't just sell in bulk. I don't have right now the luxury of being able, because I'm teaching, all that stuff. I'd love to, when I retire from teaching in about 6 years, to be able to expand to that level and to be able to do those things. But right now it's just not in the cards. But there are local farmers that if you really, really want to know, like I know this is coming from Southwest Ohio and this is what they put in it. I have people ask that question about Whole Foods all the time. And my statement is it would be great if you could find out exactly where in Indiana and just reach out to that. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to that local farmer and saying, you tell me more about your product. What do you put into it? Are there antibiotics? Are there growth hormones? Are you pasture fed, grain fed, GMO corn, non-GMO corn? I think that's what all of us have to start doing in order to find out exactly what's in our beef.
So are you saying if the packaging has the name of the
Yeah.
farm and comes from Indiana,
Yeah.
that
Reach out
doesn't
to-
necessarily mean it's not got 1,000 cows in it?
Exactly. I don't know the company you're talking about,
Okay.
but I would highly encourage you, if you really, really want to know, reach out. And if they avoid you, that would be alarm bells to me.
Okay, I have one question.
Yeah, go.
We were in an Amish grocery store, and they had really fresh beef. It looked really good, but they had a sign that says "No roll." Do you have
No roll?
no roll?
It's not.
It's inspected, but I think you had to grade it yourself, or
Did it say not for resale possibly? Is that what? No.
it was sold individually.
Yeah. No roll.
Yeah.
That's a new one on me.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm not sure about that one. Sorry. That. No, that's the.
It was for steaks and.
Inspected, but not rated.
I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Keep it up, guys. I love this.
One more, Dustin.
Yeah.
I can imagine that it'd be very costly for a non-family member to come to a farm where the person is retiring. Very costly to get into it, even if they do have experience. And so that's probably driving a lot of them.
You are 100% correct. The land, I bought my land in Warren County in 2006. The properties that are around me that are selling now are selling for almost $20,000 per acre higher than what I paid. There's no way that a young farmer could say, I'm going to do this today. It's tough. You're right. The land prices, the equipment prices, the cow prices, just to get in and buy the cattle right now. So you're right. That's a part of the problem why young people aren't getting in as well. Great point.
We have another online
All
question.
right.
Is the bison industry different from the cattle industry?
Yeah, bison is obviously buffalo. Their meat is it's good, but it's different as far as flavor and taste. They still have to go through the same regulatory processes and things as the cattle industry, but they are different for the reason that they're different animals. So again, 1950, the cattle herd was at 90 million. Today, we're at 86 million. Okay, we're at a 75-year low. I just want to show like population. These numbers may not be exactly correct, but 151 million people in 1950. Today, we have 337 million in the United States. So obviously, population's doubled. Our cattle herd is 4 million less than what it was in 1950. Now, I told you those numbers are a little skewed because the cattle are now heavier. They're almost double the size of what they were. So that makes up for the loss of those cattle. So in 1950, you had 1.6 people per cow. Today, 2026, 4 people per cow. So just some numbers I wanted to throw at you. Again, multi-year drought. We've kind of already talked about that. And, ranchers had to get rid of all their cattle. I knew when I created that first slide, I didn't need to create these other ones, but processing, labor shortages, I want to get strong domestic demand. We've already talked about that. I want to show this to you so you guys know. So those are your top 4, your big 4 packers, and then the cattle producers. Because sometimes I've seen some people, those cattle guys are making so much money right now. Well, out of the money, the cattle, the top 4, big 4, they're making the bulk of the money, and the cattle producers, they're not making as much. And there is a really strange correlation between what the cattle rancher gets from the packer when they take them into them versus what you guys pay at the end of the day. And in fact, the Trump administration is looking into that. They're telling us anyway about, unfair labor practices with the big 4 meat packers and exactly what they're charging us. Yep.
So as a farmer, what from the government, what support do you need from government specifically to help you as a farmer? A
lot of farmers, like grain farmers that raise corn and soybeans, they get government subsidy based off of per acre, and that helps them survive. Right now, the grain farmers, why we're losing so many farms, is the grain prices are so low and they're not able to pay the bills, and we're seeing bankruptcies across the country right now on farmland because the farmers can't make it. The one thing that helps keep them afloat is the government subsidy that they do get per acre from the government. In regards to cattle farming, there's a lot of debate on paying farmers to retain their heifers, which is their first-year females, so we can rebuild the herd. My opinion, government, just let the market take care of itself. Keep the government, stay out of it. What would happen is if we got a lot of people, the government paying us per heifer, you'd have cattle guys going around buying up all the heifers, and one group of people would be holding all of them so they could get all the government subsidy. So I'm not a big fan of the government getting involved. I think let the market ride itself out, and eventually our herd will get bigger, in my opinion. So, solar farms and distribution centers, we're starting to see that happen. We're talking about our farms and where they're going with the younger generations, and even regular farmers right now are selling to these distribution centers and solar farms. And the reason why, because grain is not making it for them anymore. They can't survive. They got to turn to something. So my heart goes out to them. But just a little bit of, how the profit sharing of the beef industry is heavily consolidated with the big four meat packers. Again, the profit distribution, the big four have limited competition so much that our ranchers don't have anywhere to go to take their cattle except for those four big places. And then what happens is they all keep the pricing about the same. They don't compete against each other, and we don't have anywhere to turn. We have to sell it to them. So again, result, tight supply, strong demand equals higher retail prices for you folks. And then there's me hanging out with, that's Tank. He's a 2,500 pound Hereford bull. He is, like I said, I like hanging out with him. Most people wouldn't do it, but he was a big baby. Don't let the nose ring fool you. He's my baby. So anyway, that's it, folks. That's all I got. Any other questions? Anybody else? What's that now?
What's the pound of beef?
So we charge by the hanging weight.
Okay.
And we give a discount for the more you buy. So right now we're at $6.25 a pound times the hanging weight for a quarter. I think it's $6.10 a pound for a half and $6 a pound for a whole. And now that includes the processing fee from the butcher, which is $1.20 within that $6.25, $6.10, and $6. Okay.
One question over here. Okay.
When you sell it, are you selling it already like in hamburger steaks and this and that?
So what if you were to buy from me, my butcher, the cow goes in, the butcher calls you, and there's a cut sheet. And that cut sheet has, it's literally unlimited the amount of the way you could customize it. And then they're going to let it hang. Then they're going to get your cut sheet. Then they'll cut it the way that you want it. Thickness of steak, hamburger. Do you want 1 pound packages? 2? Do you want round steak? Do you want Swiss steak? Do you want chuck roasts? It goes through the whole gamut with you.
Second question.
Sure.
I lived in Chicago, and I was on a little I was in Ohio as a kid, and we had dairy cow mostly, but my dad worked, so we had like 1 or 2 dairy cow, and we breed them, and then we breed them with Angus if we didn't want a girl, and well, anyway,
You're all right.
so dairy, the smaller dairy breed that's high in fat.
Jersey?
Yeah. We breed Jersey when we wanted a girl. But anyways, but we raised them and we had our beef. But anyways, so when I lived in Chicago, we would go together with some other people and split like a half from one of the processing places right there in town in Chicago and save money. That's how.
We have another online.
All right.
How much beef is imported into the U.S. compared to U.S. raised?
That's good. So I was looking the other day, and I think Americans, we consume like, don't quote me on this, but it's like 300 billion metric tons of beef per year. Okay. And we are importing from like, I think is it Argentina? Which one is it that we just signed the deal with? They're bringing in like 10 million pounds or something. The amount that we're importing. Now, the question about importing, I'm glad they brought this up, because right now, the other issue that we've got, and I almost forgot it. I can't believe I did. The New World screwworm along the Mexico border. Now that, folks, is a devastating parasite that we eradicated in the 1950s. It eats the flesh of the animal, and you have to basically do away with the animal when it gets infested. It's a terrible, terrible disease. So we import mostly lean beef from Australia, from South America, and the reason we import lean beef from those areas is our beef is fatty. Americans love fatty beef, so our beef is fattier, it's corn-fed. And what we do is we blend their lean beef with our fattier beef to give us that 80-20 that you guys buy in the stores. So tight supply we're not importing beef from many South American countries and Mexico right now because of this New World screwworm. And the border is shut down. We're taking no horses, bison, nothing. And that has also put a big, big hit on our supply chain. That's, again, so low herd, border closed, bringing in the lean beef.
Do you keep a team of bulls on your site, or do you use the artificial insemination?
We use a bull. Yeah, we use a bull. I know my brother uses artificial insemination, but I'm a bull guy. Yeah, I think I like having a herd bull. It kind of gives you an identity. There's my bull over there. Look at him. Anybody else? You guys have been great.
When you said screwworm earlier, I thought you were talking about like terrible dictators south of the border.
No,
And
no,
that's literally
no,
what I thought.
no.
I'm glad you clarified. Thank you.
Yeah.
We do have one more
Yeah.
online. Is beef packaging required to list the country of origin?
It is not. In fact, Thomas Massey and others in Congress right now are trying to pass it. I know the Angus Association, the Cattlemen's Association has been really, really, I think, feeling well that we're going to get that passed soon. But again, your beef in the store does not have the country of origin label on it yet. And we're working to get that. And I hope it happens, because I believe if you see, hey, made in America versus made in Venezuela or wherever it may be, our standards are so much higher in how we raise our cattle. So I'm hoping that happens soon. That's a great question, whoever asked that. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. What kind of meat?
Halal meats for that the Muslims. I was just kind of wondering because Costco was selling that for a while. I know.
I know there are different cultural meats and how they're prepared. I'm not really into that, and I can't really say much about it. I don't know enough about that. I'm sorry.
Anybody else?
Hey, you guys have been great. Anytime I get a chance to talk beef, I take it, because sometimes I'm that guy at the party sitting around looking around like nobody wants to talk about beef, So just having people interested in it, I'm blessed, and I thank all of you. You're great Americans. Thank you for coming out and asking some really good questions. Thank you. Thank you, the online folks. Thank you too.